The NASCAR Xfinity Series had its regular season finale tonight, and it was also the debut of the CW with NASCAR, at least. But what a wild night. Okay, not necessarily the race itself. There wasn't a bunch of crazy crashes, late race restarts. It wasn't like, 2-3 years ago? We didn't see the winner crashing across the start-finish line, but I'm going to say these things out loud. If I told you this even 2 years ago, you would think I was crazy. We had NASCAR on the CW. A NASCAR graphic made by the CW happened. We had Shane Van Gisbergen versus Dale Earnhardt Jr. at Bristol. We had a 40-plus point regular season championship thrown away. And we had Pac-12 After Dark advertised by the CW during a NASCAR race which they are broadcasting. A lot of this is focused on the CW. Just wild things. Oh, and then on top of all this, Dale Earnhardt Jr. had to switch his helmet, switch his earbuds, switch his radio transmission cord thingy, and lost his glasses, and lost a water bottle, and had to get his backup glasses on. Justin Allgaier ran over his saw at one point that they were trying to chop the car off with. Just all these small things compiled into one night just has... I'm mind blown. Truly mind blown. Xfinity Series Playoff field is set. We'll dive more into that at the end of this. But first, I wanted to say... Yes, I have read your comments for months. When is the Xfinity Series Playoff video going to come? When are you going to give us an Xfinity Series Playoff preview? When are you going to tell us what the heck the playoffs are? The time has come. Not today. Sorry to get your hopes up. It's not happening today, but this upcoming week, either Wednesday or Thursday, U.S. Day. I'll give you specifics once we get closer to it. Tuesday, I will make my decision on the timing, but Wednesday and Thursday, there will be two different videos. Video number one, the first video will more than likely be Shane Van Gisbergen's championship case, how he can realistically win the championship. I'll explain the playoff format, who's in it, and just all the small little details of the playoffs, the tracks we go to, all that. Then on Thursday, the next day's video will be a full playoff preview and predictions. I will once again re-explain the playoff format, the playoff preview. I'll give you the point standings. I'll give you my picks, who's going to win each race, who's going to advance through each round, and then I will eventually crown a champion, which will more than likely be wrong. Anyways, now for tonight. Bristol Motor Speedway. Oh boy, Shane Van Gisbergen had himself a night. Not exactly in terms of incidents, crazy things happening, but in practice, he said he was having a lot of fun, and that is what this track is. It's a lot of fun. Bristol Motor Speedway is a half-mile racetrack, which is equivalent to 0.86 kilometers. It's on the border of Tennessee and Virginia. It's on the Tennessee side of that state border. And this track, oh boy, 24 to 28 degrees of banking on the turns. It's progressive banking, meaning you can run on the bottom or the top. It just kind of keeps on getting more and more banked. It's a concrete racetrack just like Dover and Nashville, two tracks we went to earlier in the season, though those are bigger tracks. But this track is a favorite of the drivers. This and Darlington, I would say, most drivers say they enjoy the most. It's a driver's racetrack. But with that being said, it's an extremely difficult racetrack. But that's what makes it fun for the drivers. You don't have a single second off at Bristol. You can't coast down the back stretch. I'm 3 seconds ahead of the guy behind me. I'm 2 seconds behind the guy ahead of me. I can just kind of chill out on the backstretch, give myself a breather. No, not at Bristol. Bristol's a half-mile track. Anything can happen. The field is never really spread out because you're always next to someone. If there's a long green flag run, guess what? You're either lapping someone or you're getting lapped if you're not fighting for position. We've seen leaders get wrecked by lap cars. We've seen leaders wreck lapped cars. We saw it tonight. Justin Allgaier, while leading, got clipped by a lapped car who was wrecking. You are never safe at Bristol. You are never comfortable at Bristol. This track produces the mass amount of chaos, but it is always the best who end up on top. As we saw tonight, the regular season champion Cole Custer won. This track is a driver's racetrack. It is mentally, physically, and emotionally draining for these drivers. We see tempers flare at this track all the time. Terry Labonte versus Dale Earnhardt in the 90s. As of recently, we saw Chase Elliott and Kevin Harvick get into it. The list goes on. Fights, getting in people's faces. Bristol has it all. This is a fan favorite. It's a driver favorite. This track, it has stands all the way around it. It has 2 pit roads, which, by the way, I'll quickly explain it. Under caution, you go through every single pit stall or around every single pit stall. But we didn't see it tonight. But if there were a green flag pit stop, you're allowed to go on the half that you normally use. You don't have to use all 2 pit roads. Anyways, let's get into Shane Van Gisbergen's day. We've explained the track. We've explained the chaos that this racetrack produces. We've explained it all. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was in this race as well. He is a retired NASCAR driver. He won the most popular driver award for like 15 straight years. Yes, he is related to Dale Earnhardt Sr. He is the son of Dale Earnhardt Sr. Raced in the Cup Series for about 17 or 18 years. Won 25-plus races, won a couple of Daytona 500s, and he did end up racing Shane Van Gisbergen for a bit, which, as I said at the beginning of this video, never thought I'd say those words because, frankly, a few years ago, I don't think I could have told you who Shane Van Gisbergen was. But here we are in grand old 2024, where nothing shocks me anymore. Well, Shane Van Gisbergen, it was a typical race from him. It's his first ever time to this racetrack, and as we see, usually he qualifies poorly at these new racetracks because it's the first time he's ever been here. He only got 15 minutes of practice, 2 qualifying laps. Can't really do much with that at a new racetrack, especially Bristol. The problem with qualifying poorly at Bristol is that you're already quarter lap down when you start this race in 34th place. The field is going fast. These laps go by quickly. 15, 16-second laps are being put down consistently. And if you're back in traffic and you're not able to make passes, guess what? The leader's catching up to you. And that's what happened to Shane Van Gisbergen. There was one caution on lap 3 for the eventual race winner, Cole Custer, who had a flat tire but was able, obviously, to recover. But Shane Van Gisbergen, he started 34th, made up a few positions at the beginning to 29th. He kind of stalled out there, 29th, 30th, and he got lapped. As I said, if you're not chopping, slicing, and dicing up through the field, making up progress, the field's going to make progress on you, and that's what happened to Shane Van Gisbergen. Not a lot of experience on this track, still learning it, and that works at a Texas, a Darlington, even a Michigan, even Indianapolis. But at Bristol, it kind of hurts you early on. Shane Van Gisbergen got lapped on about lap 40, I think it was. And on lap 40, he goes a lap down. A couple other guys get lapped, and I'm going to explain this process to you once again. I know I've had to explain it once, but when you get lapped in NASCAR, there are 2 options for you. If you are the highest running lapped car at the time of a caution, you get what is called the free pass, or also known as the lucky dog. The Lucky Dog, it was sponsored by Aaron's. Aaron's had a Lucky Dog thing, and now everyone just calls it the Lucky Dog. But the Lucky Dog / free pass is if you are the first car 1 lap down when a caution comes out, you get your lap back for free. You can't pit with the lead lap drivers, but you get your lap back for free. However, if you are not the Lucky Dog and you are another lapped car like Shane Van Gisbergen was in this scenario, you have to rely on the leaders. If every single leader pits, you stay out, you get to take what is called the wave around, which is where you get to go around the pace car, get your lap back, and there you go. You're back on the lead lap. Well, the problem with this is that the majority of the field stayed out. It was a short stint for stage 1. I think it was 80 or 85 laps. So Shane Van Gisbergen was pinned a lap down. So they went ahead and pitted, got him full of fuel, tried to make up some time to get up to that Lucky Dog spot. First portion of stage 2, he was down, and this is when, something terrible happened for me. Yeah, NASCAR's timing and scoring decided to stop working around lap 105, or 108, I think was the exact lap. And that's when I kind of panicked, because I couldn't really keep up. Like, you got the ticker on TV that's telling you everything, but Shane Van Gisbergen's name's not up there every single second, and I lost him for a bit there. So I was trying to figure out, and I lost him for about 60 laps. But around lap 120, I want to say it was, he got into that free pass position. And then about 10 laps later, a caution came out. So Shane Van Gisbergen was able to get back on the lead lap. He was able to, get his competitive result back, or any chance of that, I should say. Next 40 laps, I think he was about 27th on that restart, and he made his way up to 23rd. By the end of stage 2, he finished 23rd. That's when I got timing and scoring back. A few guys stayed out at the end of that stage to try to get themselves some points. They ended up pitting. So Shane Van Gisbergen restarted the race 20th at the beginning of stage 3. He really just sat there the rest of the race. That's really about it. I mean, at one point he fell to 22nd, then he was up to 19th, back to 20th, and he ends up finishing 18th. He ended up finishing a lap down. I was really hoping he could have finished on the lead lap, but with about 20 to go, Cole Custer, the leader, caught up to him. Actually put the bumper to him to get by him, to lap him. In NASCAR, if you're getting lapped, you fight really hard to stay on the lead lap, because staying on the lead lap versus being the first car one lap down is a massive difference. I know I just explained the lucky dog, but it's still a big difference in terms of how you can pit and, starting at the end of the line versus starting mid-pack. Like, there's a massive, massive difference. But anyway, Shane Van Gisbergen got lapped. He ends up finishing 18th in this race. Solid Bristol debut. To finish 18th, only finished one lap down, was able to recover from going a lap down early to have a somewhat decent competitive result. But the moral of the story is that today didn't matter. He got some great laps at Bristol. He got some experience at Bristol, and that's great in its own sense. But in terms of the Xfinity Series Championship, it was irrelevant. It didn't matter. He wasn't going to finish top 10 in the points. He wasn't going to get bonus points from that. The only way he could have got bonus points was from winning a stage of the race, and that was a long shot, let's be honest. So at this point, it's time to focus on the playoffs. The playoffs start 1 week from tomorrow, technically, at Kansas. It's a big first round. It's realistic for Shane Van Gisbergen to get out of this first round. There's a road course in there. So Shane Van Gisbergen, the 97 team, their focus now shifts to the playoffs, where it will be him and 11 competitors. Sammy Smith, I'm going from left to right on this little graphic. Sammy Smith, Shane Van Gisbergen, Jesse Love, AJ Allmendinger, Chandler Smith, Justin Allgaier, Cole Custer, Austin Hill, Sheldon Creed, Riley Herbst, Sam Mayer, and Parker Kligerman. Those are your 12 playoff drivers. As I said, we're going to have our little playoff preview thingy on Thursday. Wednesday, we will do our Shane Van Gisbergen playoff preview. He gets his own because I know so many of you care about him oh so much. But as I said, we'll look into those point standings next week. We'll look into those playoffs this upcoming week. As for the Cup Series, that will be tomorrow. Same place, the Bristol Night Race, one of the biggest races in the Cup Series season. I'm excited for it, as always. Doesn't look like the tire fall-off is going to be as extreme as it was in the spring. But, oh boy, it's a cutoff race. It should be a little bit chaotic. We'll have some drama, I'm sure. But as for the Xfinity Series, their playoffs start next week. Should be exciting.